Welcome to the full experience. This is the beginning of a brand new journey. We take these journeys regularly, 4 episodes at a time. The full experience is about sampling just 4 episodes of a television series to see if we can become culturally literate with it. Get a sense of what that show is about. Talk about it knowledgeably with people who've seen the entire run. And we are beginning with the first episode, and then we'll watch the ultimate, the lowest, and the last, hence the full experience. But we're beginning with the first episode of Yellowstone, Daybreak, which first aired June 20th, 2018. I'm Tom Merritt. He's Brian Brushwood.
Tom, this one, for anybody who doesn't know, we just finished Bonanza, and this seemed like a 21st century spiritual successor to that kind of vibe that we wanted to check in on. When you started this, when you hit play, how culturally corrupted had you already become? Like just by osmosis?
Sure. Not very. I was actually curious about that myself, but almost everything in this was a surprise. I have been left virtually untouched by Yellowstone in the 7 years since this premiered. What about you?
Same. I did know that it had Kevin Costner, and I knew that it appealed to, you know, Westernish. I expected big, rich visuals, and I knew it was, you know, I didn't know specifically Montana, but I
knew it was very popular with white people. That is what I had read about it.
And I knew it was probably going to have some kind of like city folk just don't get it, you know?
Yeah.
But I was unprepared for the whiplash I got in the first 10 seconds of this first episode. That was an excellent set of setting expectations and then subverting them. You have a big sky, clear background, and a hand upheld. And I'm like, oh, okay, so it's a hand in big sky country. Okay. Then you see the head of a horse, and you're like, oh, it's coming in, you know, he's going to touch the horse. And you can hear, they do the thing where it's like the horse clearly is not disturbed, but the sound effects make it sound like it's having a tough time. But then in comes Kevin Costner's head bleeding. You're like, oh, we're doing this bit, the bit where, you know, he calms the wild stallion after breaking. And then up comes the 6-shooter to the neck of the horse. And I'm like, did he get robbed by the horse? What's going on? And then it cuts to wide, showing wreckage, carnage, the bottom quadrant of a horse all ripped open. Clearly, unquestionably, this horse is about to die, and he puts it out of his misery. I thought that was incredibly efficient. There are moments that I like to feel seen and heard as an audience member, and I felt very seen and heard in the pacing of the, like, we know you get this, we know you get this, you might think it'd be like this, instead it's like this. And then I was left immediately with a puzzle that I immediately grasped, I get it, it's advancing city folk, it's about the carnage, the wreckage as industry comes into unspoiled country. But then after that, it just continued to complicate things in interesting ways. I rather liked it.
I thought the visual storytelling at the open was fantastic. I don't think they could have maintained that level of visual storytelling through the hour and a half of this pilot episode. But I appreciated it. I was like, this is amazing visual storytelling. Great way to open this. Really captivated me. I liked that it was horse first, then the hat, then check on the driver of that truck, and then just wait for the cops to show up. So these are the Duttons. I'm like, okay, you've just told me what I need to know about the Duttons. I don't have a lot of other notes. I ended up just watching, partly because it is beautiful. It's beautifully shot. Partly because the story starts to stretch out the longer it goes. It was about 26 minutes before I checked the time. I probably checked the time 3 or 4 more times after that. I also noticed that it's the same pilot plot as Bonanza. Bonanza's pilot plot was the Cartwrights are trying to maintain their huge ranch, and the city folk are trying to get them to sell so they can develop the land. And that, at least we find out there's another part of this story, but at first, that's what's happening to the Duttons. They own a huge amount of this Montana chunk, and gosh darn it, why don't you just give a little bit of it for us to develop?
Yeah, although in this case, we get, I think, a spicier tripolar face-off happening, and I like
we
that
get an
instantly-
added part with the reservation and the new chief and all of that, which ends up being the more important part of the story by the end, I think.
Oh my God. I loved the fact that they were brave enough to just straight up cast Chief Acevedo from the Shield.
I had to look up, like, it's not. Okay.
But that's clearly what was in their mind. And in fact, once I saw that, you notice the kind of methed out trailer vibes, and it made me think about how Farmington in the Shield exists in the same physical space, multiple stratas of society. And then in this case, different geography, but you've got the institution of family in terms of kinship, but then separate from that, you have allegiance to the entity of the tribe versus the entity of the corporate entities. So the fact that they all exist simultaneously with mostly aligned interests. Our protagonist, I think Casey is his name. He clearly is on the outs, and it's not entirely made clear what incongruencies and misalignments there are. There was a brief moment that I thought they were going to go full the Shield, and I was a little bit disappointed that Kevin Costner didn't murder someone at the end to really surprise us. But instead, our surprise was the significant bloodletting, the loss of a brother in the very beginning of it, and the indication that this is just the most recent deaths in the face-off.
Well, and Casey commits murder.
That's right.
You can argue about whether it's justifiable or not, but he was told by Grandpa, like, you're not one of us, and that came out. And Casey's not sure what he thinks about it himself.
Yeah, I you know what? This is the first time I was watching the full experience that I had kind of during one of the boring parts when I was checked out. I was like, oh, well, at least I'll get to find out. And I was like, no, I won't. No, I won't. We're just doing the full experience. I'm not buckling in for the full ride. I'm merely a tourist. I'm a transplant, as they put it. I'm just taking a peek, and it seems like that first episode, that pilot episode, does a fine job of setting up the precarious balance between multi-layered. It's very effective storytelling that I can tell you almost every character I saw, I could give you 2 to 3 dimensions of their alignment, and despite their family alignment, where they are culturally, racially, corporation-wise, all of that stuff.
Yeah, there is a lot of discussion about the story online. You'll find a lot of people debating the quality of the story and whether this should have had more than a couple of white people writing it, which is the allegation. But if you set aside the quality of the message of the story, I felt like cinematically it's well told. I felt like acting wise, it's pretty solid. I like that they made it Succession, but with competent children instead of the comedically bad children. They're not perfect, right? They've got flaws.
They do track pretty closely though.
Yep. And so, I thought if you're not talking about the message of the story, I thought it was executed well, but too long. And I only felt that as it went along. Like I was really brought in very well at the beginning, and I was tight with it, like I said, for the first half hour. And then it started to have a little too much big sky country in it to always hold my interest. But honestly, I never felt bored. I never was like, when is this going to end?
I got bored whenever, and forgive me if this sounds sexist. I don't mean for it to. I just don't think they did a lot with those moments. Twice they're just extended scenes of women cooking, and I'm like, what is happening in this scene? And
those were discussions. Those weren't just women cooking.
Well, yes, but normally
trying to. I'm not sure how successful they were, but they're trying to give you a window. Those were the scenes that reminded me of my wife's family. Even though she's not native, I was like, oh yes, this is all the generations communicating with each other.
Yes, and I felt like they were more expository dumps, and that probably. I mean, I don't know. Look, all I could do is track my interest. Those were the times that I checked that I noticed the time.
Okay. I know Amos made a point of setting aside most of his day to watch this episode.
It was long.
So Amos, how'd you feel about the time you invested in Daybreak?
I'm very torn about this episode. I did not want to like it. I did not want to like the series. I didn't want to like the story. I wanted to be able to look my wife in the eye and say, no, the show you love so much is dumb. 90 minutes was a long time for this first episode, but I was never bored. And the only time I ever checked the clock was to make sure that I wasn't going to be late for this show.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
I know how they stretched it a little bit. They added a little bit more than they needed to, but I never felt that was unnecessary. I was always thankful for those little pauses in the action to give me a little time to digest what was going on, because this was very dense. You know, they didn't just give you one storyline to start following. They kind of gave, I don't know. I mean, I've never seen another episode, but it felt like they're giving me all the storylines to follow right now, with just this little sprinkling of each one. And I needed that extra little time to make sure I was settled with one part of it before we moved on to the next part.
Yeah, to comprehend everything.
Yeah, and going into this, all I'd known what it was about Rip and Beth, you know, all the meme videos, stuff like that. So I didn't know anything about any of the other stuff, and I was intrigued. I enjoyed it. I liked the all the dichotomies, with Casey having, you know, the native wife, but the white family, and being torn between those two worlds, even though he just doesn't want to be part of either one. He just kind of wants to be left alone to be with his family. In the beginning, the talk of, well, that's what a cattleman would say, but or that's what a rancher would say, but a cattleman would see it this way as a profit margin.
Yeah.
You know, and
I love that, because to me, that's what really drew the line of difference with Succession. Right? It wasn't, boy, you need to grow up. It was like, that's a perfectly legitimate viewpoint, but it's not the one you need if you want to do what I do.
Right. But all those little balances like that, like you got to see Beth just come in and be like, no, you know, this, I'm in charge here. You're dealing with me, and throw the brashness out there, and then go to the family. And at the family, she's not that brash. She's still strong, but she's not as coarse, and she softens a little bit. And
they did do a little bit. Tell me, maybe it was calibrated just right for your tastes. I do like self-awareness among my characters, where people are very aware of, like, I'm currently playing the whatever. I'm making a foolish decision. I'm doing whatever. When she definitely is like next level, like, I'm refusing the call. What about you? Like that, it was just a little bit more.
I thought it was a little much when the bartender came over with a phone and said, call for you. And she said, I refuse.
Is that just me? Was I too in my head about it?
I actually like that. And being as far as we know, she's the only girl in the family, it gives her a natural role to fall into. Like she's not into, you know, she wants to be, you know, have all the money and do all the things and be the businesswoman and you know, enjoy the finer things in life, while her brothers are all out there, you know, wrestling around with horses and cattle and stuff. So it kind of fit that mold for me, but I did like that little contrarian, like, you know, you're gonna come out with this? She's like, I hate these things. No, like, I don't mess with horses.
What did she say? Perseverance is earned, or I forget what it was. Penance is earned. Something is found. It was good writing, but it was just so on the nose that it broke me out of the story, because I couldn't believe that somebody was that good.
The writing was too good for a person to say.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
I get what you mean.
Human is that good.
Yeah.
Also, did you guys ever find the camera? Where was that camera?
You had to look hard to find it. In fact, you couldn't find it at first, right?
Yeah, I couldn't, but now you could see, because in the reflection you see the cowboy, but what they did was they lined up the cameraman. You could see him ever so slightly
Just
shooting
a little
over.
bit.
But boy, that was catnip when he turned right to the camera and gave a full look right down the barrel, and all you saw, give or take, was
reflection.
Yeah, was the cowboy. It was good.
Yeah.
But also the attention to detail in some of these things like that right there, where, you know, that was only on screen for what, a second and a half, but they made sure that the camera wasn't just obvious right there. A lot of little things like that were in this. The production value was really, really good.
Yeah, there were some incredible telephoto long shots. If you ever see, they caught the right morning mist and the right unspoiled atmosphere out there. I mean, clearly they're out in big sky country when they shoot all of this. And there are times where there's just nested layers of hills super, super far. It looked great.
Yeah. I haven't been to Montana since the 90s, so my experience of it is useless in interpreting this. So maybe Bozeman is exactly as the way they're displaying it here. It's quite possible, but it felt more like they were talking about Wyoming, you know, or what is it? The place in Idaho where everybody goes to.
There was Boise or
no, not Boise. The
Coeur d'Alene.
No. It's even smaller than that, and it's a place where the rich go to have their little conference and talk about being rich because Jackson Hole has become too middle class. It feels like this is a metaphor for that, of like these tiny places in the empty quarter of the United States where the rich gather.
I was thinking, Tom, that like during this episode, I had to keep reminding myself that they were in Montana and not in Wyoming. And I don't know if that's because it looks like what I've seen of Wyoming and not what I've seen of Montana, or
Sun Valley, Idaho.
Or if my internal bias is just Wyoming is ranch country and Montana is more forested and mountainy. I don't know. I've only been through each once. So
yeah. And I've never been to Bozeman. I've only been to Missoula and up and down the road.
We stayed one night in Billings on our way to Canada, on our way to Alaska. So
Pete says he thinks it was filmed in Utah anyway. So, you know, they're
not
all
Wyoming,
roughly the same climate. So,
well, I'll tell you this much: the downtown shot that they had, where they're at the Churn, an ice cream shop, they have in the B-roll a little city downtown theater.
Yeah.
That I had to stop and go look up, because I had played at one of those kind of theaters in Montana, and they had put up in those same letters, I had been voted in College Campus's Variety Entertainer of the Year. And so I took a picture of myself in front of that, and I went and had to dig up that theater photo to see if it was that actual theater, but it was not. But it was authentic enough.
Yeah. And honestly, what's the town with the film fest? Sundance, Utah? Like, that's the same story, right? Which is like all the transplants come and get their condos and live half the year there and all of that. So Sun Valley, Jackson Hole, it's telling that story. And the Duttons are not that story. It's the developers that are that. Then you've got the Duttons, and then you have the natives.
How did you like the face-off? I rather dug the foreshadowing of the 2-in-1 night. And then they let you hang for a little bit to realize, oh my God, he's both going to make a move against the developers and the tribe at the same time. And the tribe kind of went the way I would believe it. You have enough chaos with the cattle, and essentially like any bar fight, it's two people puffing their chest, and then they get over the line, and then there's a scrape.
Yeah. I felt it was more in service of telling the story to have them do both in one night. Because it's like, well, you don't want to save it for the next episode. It's better to just put it all out at once.
Also, it's like you only have budget for one or the other. You have some CGI explosions versus
what is that? But yeah, overall, it was a well told story.
I like the fact that they leaned into it a little bit, but they didn't really explain the branding, the Yellowstone branding on people. Like they kind of put it out there. Showing
versus telling, another example of that.
Yeah.
Well, and that was part of what set me off on like, what if Kevin Costner's character was much darker than we thought? Like, what if he really is running a gang? I mean, which I assume is still on the table. It's not entirely clear. I mean, branding is.
When I was doing a live stream on Monday, I was telling people I'm about to watch Yellowstone, and one of the refrains from people was, I didn't like it. I stopped watching it because it was too many unlikable people. So that was the one thing I was prepared for, is like, okay, no heroes. We're not going to have anybody that's above reproach. And Casey's probably the closest you get. And then by the end of that episode, he is not above reproach. So yeah.
I liked it. I'm excited to see where we go next with this and how it ends up. This might be one of those shows that I end up having to go back and watch the whole thing.
Speaking of which, Tom, where are we going next?
We are jumping all the way to season 4, episode 1. So I'm guessing there was a cliffhanger episode at the end of season 3. We'll probably get a previously on that'll catch us up somewhat, and then we are going to watch Half the Money, which first aired November 7th, 2021. So we're jumping 3 years ahead, 3 seasons ahead from season 1 to season 4, episode 1. And then just to lay out the rest of the road, we jump to season 5, episode 9 for the lowest ranked episode, Desire Is All You Need, which is just 5 episodes away from the very end, which is season 5, episode 14, Life is a Promise, which will be the last episode.
Cool.
I did like the fact that the highest rated episode was immediately after the second highest rated episode. They were almost tied, and we're going to catch the second half of that.
Yeah.
Two highest rated.
That happens a lot when you've got a cliffhanger 2-parter like that.
Yeah. We're almost going to get like a big chunk of the best right there, because we're going to see the outcome of that setup.
Second half of that. Yeah, that's happened at least once before when we've been doing this. All right, folks, if you get the patreon.com/Cordkillers, you get the full experience before everybody else. And you get our after talk where we discuss which stuff we're going to watch and why, and you get to weigh in on that. So become a patron, patreon.com/Cordkillers, and get ready to watch season 4, episode 1, Half the Money, the ultimate episode, the highest rated episode as far as IMDb ratings go. And that's what we'll be watching next time on The Full Experience. Talk to you then.